Robin Chesapeake says, I read this morning that the Republicans put an AMT into their tax bill. They still ain't getting it. Look, the alternative minimum tax is never going to get through reconciliation, okay? That is going to get repealed. What is happening now is everybody's got their little agenda that they want to do, but the momentum is now, people now expect this to pass. So any Republican except those in New York and California and New Jersey who vote against this are going to get skewered by their own party. So those that want a massive tax cut like me and the Freedom Caucus and others, they're going to get their way because they have enough votes in the House to pass it. They don't have to be concerned about a couple of people. They're well over the top. Their concern is in the U.S. Senate. And the biggest obstacle is the state and local taxes. And there are no U.S. senators that have an R by their name from New Jersey, New York, or California, or Connecticut. So it doesn't matter, right? So they're going to continue to leak this stuff, and you're going to get upset. And you're going to say, oh, they're selling out. They're putting DACA in it. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're raising the rates. They're not doing capital gain, whatever it is, right? The people that have specific interest will leak it. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. You're going to get the biggest tax cut in history. The $2,000 child credit is going to be maintained, which I think is key. Also, the repealing of the Obamacare mandate, which is just a tax, that's going to be repealed, right? The SALT state and local taxes are not going to get reinstated. You know, they might do some property tax up to something. The estate tax rejection is not going away. So all of these things, don't worry about it, all right? I'm overconfident because being up here, you know now how the system works. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. I'm all over this tax package, as you know. I've been its biggest cheerleader, I think, in the media in America, because if it passes, and it is, and the president signs it, and he will, the one change that I want to see the House make over the Senate bill is that the corporate tax cut goes into effect right now, 2018. You wait, you lose. You snooze, you lose. Let's get this done. That's how they maintain their majority, by getting this done. Now, Nancy Pelosi, very upset about this tax cut bill, saying it was the worst day in the history of Congress, calling it Armageddon, like death. It's the death of the Democrat Party. That's what it is, because the economy is going to take off like a bat out of hell, and people are going to have money in their pockets, and their taxes are going to go down. And when they have an extra $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 that they're not paying the government, and there's more money every week and every month in their household, and they get a better job, and their wages start to go up, and we start manufacturing things again, which then gives us the resources to protect and preserve our social contracts, like Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. None of this is going to be cut under the Trump plan. None of it. It's all scare tactics. If we become prosperous and rich as a country, we will have the ability to, one, invest in our infrastructure, which means better roads, better rail, better bridges, better traffic patterns, better shipping, and better jobs, more jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. It also means, if we're prosperous and revenues are going up, that we're going to be able to preserve our critical social contract system. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, CHIP, school lunches. I don't want any of these cut. Trump campaigned on preserving these. You got Paul Ryan coming out talking about welfare reform and Medicaid reform. I don't want to cut any of this. I don't want to cut it. I want to make enough money so we can pay for it. And whenever you have a social safety net, you have to build in a percentage of fraud. It is going to happen. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. So people that are on CHIP or Medicaid or hot lunches, I want the money to be there. So if they indeed need the help, we can help them. But if the country is going bankrupt, that stuff's got to get cut. All right, let's go to Pelosi.
No, it is the end of the road. This healthcare, the debate on healthcare is life, death. This is Armageddon. This is a very big deal. Because you know why? There's really a very hard way to come back from this. They take us further, more deeply into debt. What can you do but raise taxes? They contend that their gift to corporate America of $1.5 trillion, could be up to $1.5 trillion, will be paid for by the growth it creates. And even their own people say, nonsense, not true, not true. So let's be truthful with the American people about that. They throw a few crumbs to the middle class, but they give with one hand, they take away in bounty with the other. And why? Because it is in their DNA to give tax cuts to the rich. That's their purpose in coming to Congress. The only reason it isn't the end of the world is because America is a great country.
Well, it's the end of the world for the Democrats' quest for and thirst for power when it's successful. So, you know what? If they really believed what they're saying, they would say, you know what? This is going to be such a disaster. Their days are numbered. And 2 years down the road, they're all going to get swept out of office because the debt's going to go up, the economy's going no place, and the rich get richer, and the income gap's bigger, and your kids, now you've got 2 kids in the basement, not 1. And so that's going to be the end of them. So it's a bad day for America, but at the end of the day, they're all going to get beat. No. She knows it's going to work. That's why they're trying to defeat it now, because they know it's going to work. Okay, let's get the phone lines. The acspecialist.net truth line. Let's get to Anthony in Richmond. Anthony, you're on the air.
Hey, John. I gotta say, I think Nancy Pelosi. I rarely ever agree with anything she says, but I think she has a point. I think when you cut taxes, you have to cut spending. Now, you were just talking a few minutes ago about not cutting entitlement reform or entitlements.
Right.
Why? We need to cut those. We need to cut those.
I have no interest in that. I have no interest in cutting entitlements. Nope, that was not the president's promise. If you wanted to do that, you should have nominated Ted Cruz. He didn't win.
I'm not saying that was the president's promise. I'm saying we need to do that.
No, we don't.
Because if we cut taxes and we don't cut spending, I mean, you better hope that the economy
There's no
grows,
hope,
because otherwise you're adding another couple $100 billion of debt to the debt every year.
Hope is not a strategy. The CBO in every historical touch point in history shows that when you have a massive tax cut at the corporate and individual level, revenues go up. They went up substantially after Reagan's tax cut. They almost doubled. They went up substantially in 61 with Jack Kennedy's tax cut. For every 1% growth you get, revenues go up by $2.5 trillion. So if you go from 3% to 4% in a 4-quarter cycle, you have increased revenues by $2.5 trillion. That's what we're aiming at. You do that over a 4-year period, you've got an extra $10 trillion. You've cut the debt in half if you're able to sustain that. If you just get 50% of that, you've cut it by $5 trillion. This president did not campaign on cutting welfare, Medicaid, Medicare, CHIP, or any of that stuff. He campaigned on preserving the social contract. And he got the nomination, not Cruz. Cruz didn't win. So, I think the president should do exactly what he said he was going to do. That's why he's different than these other politicians. And so, do you think you're going to maintain a majority by going to the American people and cutting Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security? You'll get Democrats in perpetuity, right? All we tried to do was revamp Obamacare, and look at the horror story you had politically with that. You can't do it.
No, Trump campaigned on fully repealing Obamacare. That's why we won the House in 2010. We won the Senate in 2014. All the Republicans were promising us full repeal. They never said anything about replace. It was always repeal, repeal, repeal. All of a sudden, they get elected. They start talking about replace, and now they can't do anything about it. They finally got this mandate repeal, which is good. But people want these programs to be cut. They want them to be cut because they know that they're a massive, eternal, mandatory burden on the American people, and we have to reduce their size and scope.
Well, we can agree to disagree. I would rather make the country so rich and so prosperous that we have a system that can fund taking care of those in trouble until they get back on their feet, which is what these programs are designed to do. Like unemployment insurance, they're not in perpetuity. When you are on Medicaid, when you are on Medicare, it's because your income falls under a certain level, or your children are on CHIP because you're making minimum wage. When jobs are plentiful and wages are risen, you get off of these programs. I want to make the country rich. I don't want to spend time cutting CHIP for kids. It's stupid, and it's not what the president campaigned on. Now, I know that you conservatives out there, you want to cut government, all right? I get it. But let's first get rich, and we can cut later. Because if you look at what the Republicans went through over trying to repeal Obamacare, and you look at the politics of that, it was a nightmare. Okay? They couldn't do it because they never had a replace plan because they lied to you. I just want to make you rich. What's the matter with that? John Fredericks, Radio Network. I'll be right back, Trucking the Truth.